Empires don't always fall by the sword. Sometimes they collapse under the weight of their own money. For 5 centuries, Rome ruled the known world, a civilization of roads, armies, and gold. But in the end, it wasn't the barbarians that brought it down. It was inflation, debt, and the slow decay of trust. This is the story of how the most powerful empire in history destroyed its own economy, and left behind a warning that echoes through every modern nation still printing money today. Before it collapsed, Rome was the economic heart of the ancient world. Its currency, the denarius, was trusted from Britain to Egypt, from Spain to Judea. Each coin carried real value, 95% pure silver, a promise backed by the empire's stability. Merchants, soldiers, and citizens all relied on one thing: the belief that Rome's money meant power. Taxes funded legions. Legions conquered new lands, and new lands brought more gold and slaves back to Rome. It was a perfect circle of conquest and wealth, an economic machine fueled by expansion. But there was one flaw: an empire can't grow forever, and when expansion stopped, the math broke. By the 2nd century AD, the Roman Empire was enormous and expensive. Legions had to be fed, roads repaired, and borders defended from constant attacks. But as wars dragged on, the empire's income slowed. Conquered territories could no longer sustain the same flow of wealth and slaves, and the Senate faced a brutal truth: Rome was spending more than it earned. So emperors turned to an ancient temptation. They began to mint more money. But there was a catch. Rome had a limited supply of silver, so to stretch it further, emperors started adding cheaper metals: copper, tin, even lead to their coins. The denarius still looked the same, but its value was quietly dying. This was the birth of Roman inflation, a slow, invisible poison that would eat the empire from within. At first, no one noticed. A coin still bought bread, a soldier still received his pay. But as the silver content dropped from 95% to 50% to less than 2%, prices exploded. A loaf of bread that once cost 1 denarius now cost 10. People lost faith in money. Merchants demanded gold or goods instead of coins, and soldiers, the backbone of Rome, refused pay and devalued currency. To fix it, emperors printed even more, chasing the illusion of wealth with new money, just as value slipped away. It was a financial spiral. And it wasn't just economic, it was psychological. Because once people stop believing in money, an empire stops believing in itself. By the year 284 AD, Rome was drowning in crisis, civil wars, corruption, and runaway inflation. Then came Emperor Diocletian, a soldier determined to save the empire. He launched the most ambitious economic reform in ancient history. He reminted the currency, introduced new gold coins called aurii, and tried to control prices across the empire. His edict on maximum prices set wages and limits for thousands of goods, from wheat to wine to slaves. But it failed. Merchants ignored the edict, black markets exploded, and Diocletian's reforms only deepened the chaos. You can't legislate value when trust is gone. Even gold itself, the symbol of eternal stability, began to vanish from circulation as citizens hid it, fearing collapse. Rome had entered its death spiral of inflation. As the economy fractured, so did the empire itself. Local governors started minting their own coins. Trade between provinces slowed to a crawl. By the 4th century, barter replaced money in many regions. Soldiers paid in food, citizens taxed in grain or livestock. Rome's economy had returned to primitive exchange. And when the Western Empire finally fell in for 76 AD, historians pointed to the invasions, the corruption, the debt. But behind all of it was a simpler truth. The empire could no longer afford itself. It had debased its money, destroyed its trust, and borrowed its future into extinction. Rome's fall wasn't just a story of swords and senators. It was a story of economics, of what happens when a society believes it can print value faster than it creates it. The Roman denarius is more than an artifact. It's a warning. Because history repeats in different forms. When governments spend beyond their means, when central banks chase growth with endless money creation, they repeat Rome's mistake. And just like in ancient times, the collapse doesn't start with a crash. It starts with confidence quietly fading. Rome's empire once seemed eternal. Its legions conquered continents. Its roads connected the world. Its money carried the face of power. But no empire, ancient or modern, survives when it forgets the value of trust. The real currency of power isn't gold, silver, or printed paper. It's faith in the system, in the future, in the promise behind every coin. Because in the end, all empires fall the same way. Not with an invasion, but with inflation.